Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to be here as well. You know, Finland is about to start the holiday, so we are finishing and making all the work and making the world ready before the holidays. Actually, this sort of green transition has been going on since 1972, when we had the limits of growth done by the MIT for the Club of Rome. But it has been in a lower level, of course. But since 10 years, you might say, more or less, we've been working in Sitra with sustainable business, and sustainable has always meant economical, social, and ecological sustainability. So in that sense, this is not kind of new, but it's very needed that we have so strong regulative and also sort of boosting base done by the European Commission. And actually, when I think backwards, I've been working with Commission in 1995, but last this 10 years, I think for example the circular economy action plan, the first one was like a waste package, and now what we have is a product package. But of course, Green Deal and the green transition as such, it's very much needed also that it's so larger and comprehensive approach. That is really needed, so that all the companies understand also the possibilities and have new opportunities within these programs. And also but what is still lacking actually is kind of understanding that this is not just technology. It's very much about the also cultural change. And within the technology, you have the certain technologies that are most important. You might say that, of course, big data, IoT, carbon capture, but also the new materials are essential. So this is not just a digitalization, but also very much about the other technologies that are now emerging within the world and within the European Union. And actually, when I work with these business ecosystems and innovation ecosystems and small and medium-sized companies, what comes there also in a question when you have different type of companies, because working together, usually within these ecosystems, when you think about businesses, it's usually like 2 global players, 2-3 national players, then you have SMEs and startups, and if it's innovation, then it's some university and other institutions involved. And what is actually the crucial thing there? It's not always the technology, it's the information, and information, how it's shared. So you come in the question of data, and data is not just data management done by the company, and sharing data is not just the one way. It's about sharing data and who's benefiting that. Is it an asset for you? And if I want to share, do I have rules to share? Do we have a common sort of understanding what we are doing with the data? And that sort of questions are actually bottlenecks in many cases. They are like barriers to make these new innovations to take place, and also these new solutions to emerge. So that's why we have, for example, in Sitra, this fair data economy project, and it's very much linked within the European data strategies and legislation which is going on, meaning the, for example, the GaiaX architecture and also the other program which are going on. So I just want to emphasize also the meaning of data here, and it's like I said, it's not because technology is very simple many times. But what comes to the question, in addition to data and information, is the humans, and there you need to change the culture. What is your company culture? What is your national innovation culture? Do these people actually talk together? How you change the mindset, values, and behavior in a company? Those are huge questions, and that's why we also created the circular economy playbook for our industry, technology industry, chemical industry, and also for the SMEs. And we have done that also recently with the Nordic innovation, so that everybody understands that how can you actually make a viable business case out of circular economy within this green transition, how you follow the legislation, how you can actually find out this and implement the new opportunities that is provided. And where does it actually start? It starts with the value creation within the company. And you have 3 dimensions there. You have this sort of increase in positive impacts and reducing negatives. Then on the other hand, you have short-term impacts and also long-term. And it becomes like a sort of sustainable value creation framework. And these are actually drivers for companies nowadays as well. Revenue generation, you have new revenue streams and increasing sales, improving market, extending product portfolio, even premium pricing. Once you are fulfilling the requirements that are needed, and nowadays it's not just anymore investors and financial institutions that requires you fulfilling the sustainable criteria, but you also had to have a verification for that. So you had to have ISO 14000, but you have to go beyond. Like we heard just before, the previous speaker said about the biodiversity, and that will be a huge, there were huge implications to these companies, but also huge possibilities if you are forerunner. And on the other hand, you have, of course, the other driver for companies, saving cost. It means that you get more EBITDA in the last line, because while you are saving resources, energy, and labor production cost, then you also start to save energy and you start to emit less CO2. But what are the new, of course, risk reduction has been there always. That's one big driver for sustainability and have been for a long time. But the one thing is purpose. Company without a purpose, you cannot enhance your brand acknowledgement and value also. It's very big thing for your employers, but also as an employer, it's important, but more than less also alignment of your employers. Everybody's asking, what is the purpose of a company if you are producing, for example, tissue paper? So you have to have that behind there and showing that you are fulfilling these ESG indicators as well. But we have to have a little bit patience if you think about the businesses and the change, because all of these companies are in different level. There are those who are just fulfilling something and trying to do the best. There are those who are having and starting with the new business models. And the third one are those who want to embed this all in the strategy and operational model. So there is a lot of variety within this, but it's really the change is taking place. And about this, I don't know if we have any more time to discuss actual cases, but for example, we have a SME TUM Turbo, which is compressor producer. So it's a manufacturing company and still kind of startup SME, but it's already global player and challenging the big players around the world. So what is possible for them, instead of buying the compressor with the heavy maintenance package, you can just buy that as a service. And then as a customer, you don't have to invest in that. And then you can also, usually when you are buying a compressor, you have to have people who is maintaining that, maintenance people to run that. So now that they are running that from Finland directly and optimizing the usage. So it's remotely operated, optimized, and followed by the TUM Turbo team here in Finland. And you just pay based on the amount of air you use in your production. And what is the benefits for this, for the environment? This comes because once the one who have produced owns actually this machine, they know how to run it, they optimize the usage, it's ongoing. It's not just predictive maintenance, it's online maintenance all the time. So the product use in years, it's like 30 years instead of 7 years, which is usual. And also it reduced the emissions. And like I say, it is also applies as a company who is using that to wisely use their resources in a company. That is just an one example, but there are a lot in big ones and smaller ones. And usually when you talk about the sharing platforms or product as a service or performance as a service, remote operation, predictive maintenance, changing the way your value chain or supply chain is working. Usually there's a digitalization or technology behind, which is actually applying this possibility to do that. And more you know about your client, the more you can get the new services which are actually kind of immaterial. But of course, the negative side is that the emerging of digitalization and use of data. And there is a lot of discussion, the negative side as well. But as a whole, the impact is usually positive. So I won't go further, but this is really a change that is already taking place. And it's not just companies' business models, but it's the whole business ecosystem which is changing. But everybody must understand that this is a value creation. It's about your customer, what type of value you bring to them, to your environment, and to people. Thank you very much.